Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Cabinet meeting on Monday, the 7th of October. I'm Tim Adams, Chair of the Committee and Leader of the Council. The first item on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence. I don't believe there are any. And the second item is minutes of the meeting held on the 9th September. Were there any questions on the minutes? Callum, go ahead.
Just a very minor omission in the members also attending. It doesn't list Councillor Peter Fisher, but he was here and did speak.
Okay, so if that's okay to add that in. Thank you, Lauren. Were there any other points? If not, I propose the minutes be accepted. And that's seconded by Councillor Shires. We'll hold the next item a second because we've got potentially a public speaker. So if we deal with item 4, were there any declarations of interest on items on the agenda? No. Okay. No items of urgent business. Any member questions at this stage? No. Okay. Item 7 is recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Is it yourself, Councillor Dixon? Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'll kick off, but I will very quickly hand over to the chair of that working group. And on conclusion of that, I will deal with the second recommendation once that's been completed. So I'll hand over to Councillor Holliday.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I don't need to remind you of the scale of homelessness in North Norfolk and the misery it causes, or remind you of the strain it puts on everyone's budgets, including NNDC's. The emotional, mental and physical toll this takes on households is beyond comprehension, and our housing teams work tirelessly and under great pressure. So the Task and Finish Group set out to examine the widest range of possible interventions to reduce and prevent homelessness and to review practical solutions to relieve homelessness. We recognise that there might be overlap with the sterling work which is currently carried out by the housing team, who go over and beyond for our residents, but we felt it important to start with a blank slate. We met with 8 external witnesses and 5 officers, and the recommendations come from them. We hope that our recommendations, if accepted, will help us continue to provide the best outcomes for our households at risk of homelessness who have become homeless. We recognise our recommendations are just the first step and that they need to be explored in more depth once agreed, and did not see our remit as fleshing out proposals in detail. And just a minor point, recommendation E4 is now out of date. Hopefully we'll respond to the NPPF consultation appropriately. So I'm assuming that you've all...
We certainly have. Well, first of all, just to thank you for all of the work here. I'm certainly appreciated. It's been taken seriously, and obviously, as you know, the most significant challenge we face. I've got Councillor Fredericks coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'd like to echo the thanks to the Task and Finish Group and everybody that took their time and effort to add to this. Homelessness is clearly a major issue across the country and specifically for district, and it's pleasing to see that cross-party support for tackling this issue. It's a big challenge for both the council in terms of workload and costs involved. It has been identified by the group, and more importantly, for those affected by homelessness and the huge impact that it can have on lives. There are a lot of interesting ideas included in this report, which will need to be looked at in detail to understand their potential benefit. The work vitally in the light of the current budget position of the council and the costs that might be involved. Many of the themes emerging from the group reflect those in the housing strategy report, the homelessness and rough sleeper strategy, and the housing refresh. Both of these are live documents, and also our action plan as well, and they're all available to see online. They're regularly reviewed, and where we have the opportunity to incorporate new ideas and approaches, we obviously will when they've been scoped out. Picking up on some of the themes identified by the group, I'd like to highlight some work that we've already got underway and planned that's in line with some of those recommendations. So last year, I sent out information to all town and parish councils highlighting the housing need in their area. So I'm going to be repeating that exercise and also putting on there about empty homes and also where people can get help if they find themselves homeless. We've been carrying out a consultation, which is actually going to be closing soon on our Your Choice, Your Home allocation of social housing. So that's been running along, and I think we've all had a chance to attend briefings that the officers have put on, and also actually contributing to that work by contributing your comments. The council is already working with the EELGA to review the effectiveness of our TA provision, and we always look at ways we might access more TA in cost-effective ways. In partnership with organisations across Norfolk, a private rented sector networking event is taking place on the 9th of October, and that's about no homelessness in Norfolk, and my team are actually attending that, and that's on Wednesday at Barnum Broom. So that will bring together private landlords and provide information and support, and they can continue to be a valued part of the housing solution in Norfolk and North Norfolk. So they're just a few examples of the work that's going on, and certainly we can learn things from the OANS report. And once again, I'd like to thank members for their input to this timely piece of work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so I think we can appreciate here in the housing area as a whole, there's a constant stream of policy development, of consideration, possibilities and tangible outcomes.
We do that
continues
every single day. We're looking at different options. I'd just like to thank the teams involved as well in people services, all of the people in people services, and we all work towards preventing homelessness, and we all work together in trying to find solutions every day. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councillor Brown, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to speak to the paragraph 4 or numbered under paragraph E, responding to the National Planning Policy framework. They're becoming like the proverbial metaphorical buses. National planning policy frameworks are coming along sort of two at a time. The previous national government introduced one at the end of last year, but obviously since the election, there is a push to rejig that by the new government. Such was their rush that they rolled out this consultation to every local authority in the country, not just to an NDC, in July, and gave us until the 24th of September. And you might think that's a generous amount of time, but when you realise that August is a low activity month because of the holiday period, it hasn't given us exactly a generous amount of time to respond to it. So I would like to thank the officers and Cabinet for working with me on this to respond to it. We did get our response in on time, and I appreciate the work that the officers in the planning department have undertaken in that respect. So just one final point, one of the main responses we gave was that the definition of affordable housing needs to be completely reviewed and reconsidered. And it was our view that affordable housing should be linked to local incomes and affordable rents, and the ability to afford mortgages by capping it at 3 times income, joint income, to define what is an affordable property or not, because there's wholesale disquiet in the community that we bandy affordable housing around as a term when it actually doesn't really, in practical terms, mean that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for outlining that and for the additional information. Over Councillor Toy and then Councillor Shires.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Morning, everybody. Yeah, just on the domestic abuse area, I'm the vice chair of the Police and Crime Panel at County, and with Councillor Withington, she's already through me. We've made contact to start dealing with the new Police and Crime Commissioner to work in those areas as well. So I thought that'd be worth just updating people at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Lucy, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Again, I'll echo what everybody said about the work that's gone into this, both by officers who are doing it in a day-to-day and those members who sat on the task and finish group. Out of curiosity, I did raise it over in scrutiny, and it was stated it would be best for me to raise this here. The county council get about 1.8 million. They did do this year and they did last year. And the duty that goes with that is that Tier 1 authorities assess the need for accommodation-based support for victims of domestic abuse in their area and use the funding through this to supply it. So I'm wondering where we are with that and if we've had any conversations, because if we're seeing domestic abuse and violence as being the primary reason for people fleeing their homes, then perhaps it's a conversation with the county council as to what they're actually doing to support this.
Thank you, councillor Shires. Yeah, I haven't seen a penny of it. So I would suggest that we get that conversation going straight away and we'll write to them and ask them where our share of that money is. It could be that they are helping us fund target hardening for those victims and survivors that wish to stay in their own homes. But so far I haven't got any information on that at all, but thank you for the prompt.
So we wouldn't be able to add that obviously to the overview and scrutiny recommendations, but if we can make note of that, I suppose, and we will make representation to the county council in due course to establish the use of that. I believe it's national funding, isn't it? I think that's government funding. Okay, were there any further representations? Christopher, go ahead. Sorry, Councillor Cushing.
Just a very quick question for Councillor Brown. Would it be possible for you to share the response that you gave to the NPPF consultation?
Yes, certainly, Councillor Cushing. I believe it is actually on the website currently. It has been put on the website. Yeah. I believe that's the case, but and I'll double check that. And if it hasn't already been put on there, the intention is there, and I'll make sure it does go on the website. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Can we deal with the second recommendation if there's nothing anyone else wants to say? Come in. You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering if there's going to be a follow-up, just so we can assess progress, whether indeed any of these recommendations have been further analysed or.
So as Councillor Fredericks has outlined, we've got the strategy upcoming, and there's some work that actually align with these already ongoing. I think some of it predates as well. Whether you want to go back to the committee in due course to update on the housing and homelessness situation and in respect of these points, but obviously there's a sort of work stream at the moment, isn't there, in effect?
Thank you for the question. Yes, so we already have the housing strategy action plan and the housing strategy refresh, which covers the majority of the recommendations that have been put, which is great to have that affirmation that or the confirmation rather, that we are doing all the right things. The couple of points that I highlighted in my opening gambit, we are pursuing. So I think I'm actually due to give overview and scrutiny an overview of the housing strategy, and then I'll incorporate those points with that. I think would be a good idea.
Yeah, okay. If that's okay, then to take that back to the scrutiny committee in due course for I mean, it's something obviously we would want to see ongoing discussion and awareness of at the committee anyway, given it's arguably our biggest current challenge. So I hope that's acceptable for the time being.
I mean, this was gone through with the new policies, the allocation policy and the housing strategy all in mind and cross-referenced against everything. So
Yeah.
we felt that either these were enhancements or continuations or affirming the need for. But I think the scrutiny would like to see that the additional points we made were being considered, but
Mhm.
that'll come out perhaps in the presentation. Thank you very much.
That's fine. Okay. Okay, if I can go back to you, Councillor Dixon, for the second recommendation, which is the reporting corporate plan progress.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just before we move, just for clarity, for my sake at least, how are you accepting that list of recommendations?
We'll deal with
in
that in a
whole?
minute. Yeah, we'll deal with that in a minute. So I was going to take both of them together. Absolutely, you're right to point that out. Yeah.
Right.
So we're
you-
taking both the first and the second recommendation, which you're about to speak on now,
All right.
together. Yeah.
Okay, perhaps that will become clear at the end.
Yes.
Thank you. The second recommendation relates to the corporate plan. That was the action plan that was considered for the end of Q1. That was up until the 30th of June. I wasn't present at that meeting, but clearly the discussions did reach that recommendation that more detailed information be provided within the action plan that would include delivery dates where possible and success criteria to give a greater understanding of the progress being made against each of the red, amber, green targets. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to present those recommendations. Okay, so in respect of the recommendations, I propose that we do accept 1 and 2, which is both the homelessness task and finish group outcomes, if you like, and the progress reporting. Seconded by Councillor Fredericks, and all of those in favour, please. Yeah, thank you. Harry, are you? Yeah, okay, thank you. That's unanimous. So now if we can go back to item 3. So I understand we've got Mr. Bunn with us today. Thank you for joining us. We don't have a draft question from you or anything along those lines. I understand you might have wanted to say something. We've obviously got to be careful about going too far with that discussion at this point, because we've got a paper which we'll be discussing, and then we will make the recommendations publicly. But because of obviously because of commercial sensitivity, we won't be discussing that openly for both parties. So I don't know if you wanted to ask a question, or whether you were here if we wanted to ask you any questions, or vice versa, but you're welcome to speak to us if you'd like to.
I think I was probably here for the latter in case you wanted more information from me rather than asking any questions of you. But yeah, I've prepared a note here that I can read out to give everyone an update on where we're at, and I've tried to sort of remove any commercially sensitive items. And I've got a letter from our commercial agent that I can also read out to give everyone the sort of the current position, if that's thought to be of benefit.
Thank you, Mr. Bunn. Clara, you wanted to come in?
Thank you. I think the position is, if a member of the public wishes to speak at a committee or cabinet ordinarily, or make a statement, they would ordinarily have to give at least 2 days notice, and then it would come to myself as the monitoring officer, because I have to be very careful and protect the council from exempt information going out into the public domain. And as that hasn't happened, my preference would be that that statement isn't read out, because I haven't been able to look at it myself.
Okay. Is that okay? Is that understood?
Understood?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, I think we did hear from you, but I don't think that the statement has been discussed. Obviously, very happy to meet you offline as well. Okay, so we have then item 8, which is the Sheringham enabling land item. And I would like to take the proposal straight away to move into private business, if that's okay. So is there a specific wording I need to use here, or can I just propose we move to exempt business? Is it 9? Yeah, there we are. Okay, so I propose that under section 104A of the Local Government Act 72, the press and public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1, schedule 12A as amended of the Act. So there's a proposal, seconded by Councillor Shires, and all of those in favour, please. Okay, that's unanimous. So if we take